Hello everyone and welcome. Today I was going to demonstrate some differences between the Access Virus B and the Access Virus TI. This is the 61 key version of the B, so that's called the KB, and this is the TI Polar. I've had the TI Polar since 2012. Back then, all I read was Vintage Synth Explorer, which said that the Access Virus TI was the pinnacle of synthesis, and I believed it. And honestly, I still love my Virus. I think it's one of the better synths that I own, and I think it looks really nice. And I've used it in most of my productions. There's also the Virus B, which actually got back in 2020. Not this big specific one. I got a different one, and I loved how the keys felt, but I just felt like I didn't have the room, so I eventually sold it. But came back and realized how much I loved those keys, so I bought another one for about 2.5 times more. And it didn't have the same keys that the first one had. So, that's how it goes. However, it still feels nice. But, I hear a lot online that people say that there are a lot of arguments about whether one is better than the other. And we'll just go through some of the settings. We'll start off with an initialized patch, and then we will just kind of look at the different waveforms and go from there to see how they might differ. So I won't go into the specs of these because honestly, I don't really know. I have no idea how many voices the B has, and I have no idea how many voices the TI has. I think it's like 80 plus, and this has like 24. I don't know. Something like that. I never really care about that sort of thing. Anyway, so let's start with an initialized patch. All right, so here we go. I will do the patch that's C126. That is init. And I will do the same thing on the Virus TI. So let's hear what that sounds like. They sound pretty similar. What you can hear is that there's actually two oscillators going, one that's kind of beating against the other one, creating that sort of movement. So what you can do is turn down the detune knob because they're detuned from each other. And do that on the TI. And they actually do kind of sound a little different. Had to turn off the return volume from the DAW. Because it was sort of affecting the sound I was hearing. But they do sound different. I think it's just where they're at in the each one. I think they're. I think they kind of have different starting points for the oscillators, so that's what we're hearing. So what we'll do is actually turn the balance to oscillator 1, so you can only hear one. Yeah, I think they sound pretty close. Let's go through the octaves. One thing I've noticed is that actually on the TI, on the keyboard version at least, I can go a lot lower. So this is like the lowest. So this is C sharp. That's the lowest. That's the lowest I can go on the TI without obviously affecting the the semitone. I don't know. They sound similar. There's nothing that really stands out to me with the saw. Now let's put it to the pulse wave. Oops, sorry. One thing I should mention is that both of them have what's called the analog boost. And I suppose they might have some differences, so I wonder if I should turn them off. Oh dear, finding it in here. I do find that oh, there it is. I find that the TI is a lot easier to navigate, but that could be because I've used it since 2012. And this one I don't use quite as much. So it looks like here, we'll turn it. Okay, so they're both off. Yeah, I'm not really hearing anything different. So let's have the LFO modulate the pulse width. Yeah, they sound pretty close. Now let's turn the sub oscillator on. Yeah, I think they sound reasonably close. So much so that if you were to ask me based on these oscillators whether there's a difference, they don't sound different to me. And maybe you'll pick up something I'm just not picking up, which is totally fair. So now let's go to frequency modulation. So what we need to do is change the mix from the oscillator balance to the oscillator 2, because that's what gets modulated. So I think that, I guess oscillator 1 must be the carrier. No, oscillator 1 must be the modulator, and oscillator 2 is the carrier. So let's just start hearing that. Let's go back to a basic saw wave, which I believe is shape 64 on there. It's a lot easier on the TI to know. Okay, let's. Oh, well, that's strange. They sound different with the sub oscillator up. Oh, it's possible I was on the wrong octave. It's a little hard with the keyboards. Let's try that again. Whoops, wrong knob. All right, yeah, they're close. All right, there. No, we shouldn't panic yet. Okay. All right. Sounds reasonable. So let's start with the TI. Let's Oh, they definitely sound a little different to me. Neither one particularly musical to me. Now, the one thing that the TI can do is shift. You can change what sort of oscillator or frequency modulation you're doing. So I usually use what's called wave positive triangle. Let's see if that sounds different. Yeah, it does. You can't do that on, at least I don't think you can do that on the KB. I could let's see, velocity, control. No, I think it would be in this settings in the edit menu, and I don't see it. Maybe it'd be under FM positive wave. Here we go. Wow, I'm learning new things today. This is good. I guess I like how they both sound. It's like old Atari games that I used to play. Or modems. Those were always fun. Okay, so what you normally would do, I suppose, is take oscillator shape 1, bring it to a saw wave, and then do the same for oscillator 2. So let's do that. Switch them both to that and to sine waves. The KB sounds a little darker there. I wouldn't buy the KB over the TI just for that reason. I mean, just because of that. So let's see what else we can do. So we checked out both of those. Let's go to so you can add saturation, but honestly, I'm not really sure how to change the saturation type on the KB. So maybe that's like not a fair thing to do today. So what we could do is add some unison to these. So let's do 3 voices stacked, because I know how to do this. Oh, I'm gonna go back and just reinitialize my patch, because like what I added was just kind of a bunch of junk. Okay, so now we're back, and we'll bring it back to oscillator 2, turn off the detune, and hey, we're back. Now I'll go in and find unison, turn it on to 3, and oh god, you'd think I would remember where unison is in the synth I've had for years. Ah, here it is. Okay, I guess actually it's a little easier on the KB there. So we got 3 voices. Detune at 48, pan spread 100%. On the KB it's 127, which must mean 100%. I think that sounds great. And they both sound really similar. So let's move on to the filters. And let's just stick right now with one filter. They both have 2 filters. They have low pass, high pass, band pass, and band stop, which I think is a notch filter. I'll be honest, I normally just use low-pass filters, but I think the others are very musical too. I'm not quite as good at using them. And we'll use them in Series 4. Series 6, I think, makes the slope a little steeper, if I recall. And the nice thing on the KB is that you're actually able to change that right with a button click. On the TI, you actually have to go into menu, so you'd have to go into edit and then hit different parameters to get there. So under the common settings of the filter, you have to change the routing to serial 4, 6, etc. So anyway, we're only going to use one filter. So we're going to use the low pass filter, and I'll just sweep with 0% resonance, then 50%, and then 100%. We'll just see how those sound. Okay. Bring them back to 100%. Turn the resonance to about 64. Let's see. Does it say? Yeah, that's the same. And we'll do that again. think they both sound really nice, which is why I have two viruses. All right, 100% resonance. All right, I have to do that again because for some reason it sounds like the KB is a little like easier, like a little nicer on the ears, but I could have just been hearing things. Hear a lot more like distortion from the TI. I don't know if that's real or just in my head or something about how I'm have them in the mixer. That's a possibility. After I'm done, I suppose I should check and make sure that the gain isn't like super high on one versus another. The volumes are similar, and actually the master volumes on these are like identical. All right, so they kind of sounded the same. Let's kind of pick an, let's get them somewhere around the same cutoff. Yeah, they sound pretty similar there. I suppose we could go through and do a high pass. Kind of boring, but like, hey, let's do it. And we'll bring the cutoffs to 0. Yep, so that should sound, whoops, help if I put it in high pass. Okay. And then we'll put it up to 100% resonance. Let's just skip it, the middle one. All right. Yeah, they sound pretty similar. I don't really want to go through all the filters, and I'm sorry if you do, but that's just not happening today. All right. Well, next, let's move on to something that is very important to me, which is reverb. Yes. Reverb, to me, is what makes every synth sound good. So what I think we'll do is we'll just go in effects, and we're going to go. So you have to actually switch. You can only use delay or reverb on the KB. So we're going to go to, we'll switch it to reverb. And on the TI, you can actually just kind of go over and select the reverb. And let's make sure our settings are the same. So I'm going to use a Hall reverb. That's what's already set here. And we're going to use, for decay time, 120. Now this, okay, decay time, 120. Damping, kind of like, I think just dampens the sound eventually. They're different in how they're set up, so let's just turn them on to 0 because that should be identical between them. And the color, on the TI, it's like auto set to negative, I forgot, either negative or positive, I think negative 15. And we're going to turn pre-delay off. I don't know why that's ever on. I don't like it. The clock off. I don't know. What's a clock going to be useful for on reverb? Okay. Send. Oh, so that's the amount. So on here, it's further back. Okay. So effect send, I guess we're going to do about 50%. What's max? 127. So 64. So okay, so here's the weird thing is that on the TI, it's like says send as -8 decibels, but like I don't know what that has to do with how that translates to like 0 through 127. So we'll just put them at what looks like about 12 o'clock. So let's hear it. Okay, let me get myself back into the right filter mode. So something I noticed when I was playing around with these before is that I could hear that the KB seems like it trails off longer at the same settings and is brighter. So like listen to that. It just has this brightness to it. Okay. Oh, I can't just turn it off. Well, how does that work? Whatever. Okay. But then, okay, so let's listen to that. See, it sounds darker. So one thing I thought I would do is, okay, I'll turn the color up. So let's turn it up to 60 plus 63. And that just like added a high pass filter, which sort of like cut out all the bottom end, which does not sound good to me. And okay, so let's throw up the color on this. I mean, you can hear that they're wildly different. To me, to my ears, this one's brighter for its reverb. So let's go back, put the color onto 0. Looks like we have about the same different things. So let's try large room. I don't know what I'm saying. Large room. So let's change the type. Whoops. Yeah, it's darker. You know, maybe like what I have to do is turn on the high, like do the EQ. Yeah, maybe that's what they did with the TI series is like allowed you to shape it a little bit more so it was a little more neutral. But it still kind of dies out, like decays a little bit faster. It doesn't sound quite as natural to me. Plus, anytime I use that EQ, it just doesn't, it ends up distorting and doing weird things. So I'm going to go back to the hall because I like that one. I'm not going to mess with the other. Oh, might as well. I'm here, right? All right, small room. Small room. Now we are going to leave the high EQ on just because it seemed like it was closer. Yeah, they sound different to me too. I do think the KB or the B kind of rings out a little more naturally. Here, let's turn the EQ back down. Just so we're not messing with. Yeah, it still doesn't sound as good. Weird. I always love the TI's like internal effects. I always use them, but I do use the delay and reverb in tandem which makes it sound a lot more like lush, and you can't even do that on the KB. All right, that was fun. They just sound different to me. All right, so let's try and get something like musical out of it, and see how they sound. So what I like to do is turn up the envelope amount for the filters. Now let's kind of throw them back to 0, so it's like the balance is on both of them, because that makes it I think like a 24 dB filter. Because I think when you have it just one, I think it's 12 dB, and so when they're in series, it's 24. It'd help if I read manuals. So I turn the envelope amount kind of up to about 2 to 3 o'clock, and I'll turn the cutoff all the way down. And if I can figure out where, here we are, the velocity settings are, I'll turn the filter 1 envelope amount up. Yeah, there we go. Turn the decay up, release, kind of turn up around 3 to 5 o'clock for those. I'll try and match them up. I'll do everything the same. And this ends up being kind of a mess to find velocity mapping. I don't think I knew about velocity mapping in the TI for like way too long. All right, so I set it to 100%. So let's just hear how this sounds. I'll try that. Well, I don't know what I played, so I'll just play something. They both sound nice. I don't know. Maybe it's like my settings are just a little different, so it's hard for me to know that whether the KB the keys feel nicer too. So that's like one part of it, is that the keys on the actual like 61 keyboards are like really nice, and the one on the TI is okay. It's nothing to write home about, whatever that means. So another thing that I like to do is actually throw up the resonance a little bit. That gives it like a unique, gives it an interesting tone. Resonance at 76. Wait, what was it at? Because they're the same. It was like at 76. Okay, we'll try something like that on this. And one thing I heard, and actually heard a lot worse last time I was doing this, which is that there's a lot of like internal clipping in the TI that I just don't hear in the KB. I don't know what that is about, and I only noticed it with the reverb. I can turn the master volume like all the way down, and I'll still hear this internal clipping from the reverb. Here, maybe what I'll do is turn the send up a lot more and just see if that like drives it into doing that. Which it does. And even when the master volume is turned down, you hear a bunch of clipping. Okay, but that's not fair because this isn't, I didn't throw the send on, so I could do that. What is that? The volume. Let's see if it does it. So effect send, had it like here. Let's see if it does it. No, it didn't. Or if it did, it was like way minor. So that's like, to me, a really weird thing that the TI does that. And now maybe it's just my unit and somebody would be like, hey, that doesn't actually do that. But it does on mine. Also, my mod wheel doesn't really work, and the pitch wheel's weird. Like, they're both really weird on that. So I don't know. That to me is a pretty significant change or deviation from the KB series. And I think maybe, I don't know why that would be, or if anyone else has noticed it. But it does seem to clip a lot. So, you know, that to me was like a significant, deviation. What else can I say? I guess we could check out some of the we could check out the delay. I'll do it by clock. There'll be a quarter feedback, about 50%. Rate, whatever. That's for like a, here, turn off reverb, go to here. Oh, there's classic delays on here. Feedback was what? It's like 50%. Send is around 50%. Clock, quarter. All right, something's crazy. I think it has to do with this. Rate. Rate is set to 120 when the other one's set to 16. depth. Same knob position. Yeah, they sound the same. All right, let's turn sync on, see what happens. Nothing. That's messing with the FM knob. Turn the sub oscillator on. Well, I mean, there's so many things to go over, and I'm not that organized to go over it, and I'm sure you're not even watching anymore. So, you know, they're very similar in how they sound, but I think the big difference is the implementation of reverb. To me, they sound different. The reverb just generally sounds different. I don't think in general I would have noticed or cared. I used to think the TI was just like the best thing for reverb, and then of course I got like the Eventide space, and then I was like, oh, that's way better. But honestly, the KB reverb sounds amazing. I have another video where people kept asking me, what's up with, like, is that the internal reverb? And I had thought it wasn't when I was just listening to it, and then I looked at the comments and what I wrote, and I was like, oh, it was the internal reverb. Like, it's very good, and it's a lot cleaner in that it doesn't, like, internally clip. And I don't know if that, like, internal clip is just because, like, the way they implemented processor power or what, but somehow it just does a better job. So in my opinion, you know, that's nice, but, like, is it really worth sacrificing something like on here where you can have Hypersaw and turn up the density and detune and suddenly get, well, something that doesn't. Oh, I'm on the wrong. You know, one thing I didn't go over is the chorus, but I think there's like only one chorus type in here, and honestly. Like I never use it. Oh my god, I think it's only got one setting, which is like on or off. Well, like 0 to 127. And on the Virus, you got like, or on the TI, you've got like 5 different settings. I use them so infrequently. Like I only use it on my Juno or the System 8. But yeah, you just can't get like the Hypersaw sounds on the KB, which is a shame. That's like to me the biggest problem with it. I'd love to have that, but I don't know. They're both good. I think if you had the B, I wouldn't even bother upgrading to the TI. But if you had the TI, I don't think I'd downgrade. I much prefer the UI on the TI over the KB. I don't like, like if I'm trying to figure out how to get the arpeggiator on, I have to go into control and go and scroll over to arpeggiator and to turn it on, which like what? Like that. I mean, at least on the TI, you've got like an ARP section. You can just turn it on and then click effect or edit and and then like go through the parameters of that. That's way nicer in my opinion. And then obviously the mod matrix is like laid out, so you've got 6 slots where 3 things can go into each slot. That's in the KB, but I think it's under edit, and you have to like you can assign like 3 things. Like that's awesome. And it's a lot harder in my opinion to like kind of set it up. There's just tons of stuff that's like extra on the TI, which includes wavetables. Not that I ever use those either, but if I wanted to, they're there. There's wave pulse width modulation, so you can like do pulse width modulation of waves. And then there's like grain, so like granular stuff, formant things with the oscillators, so like you can just do all sorts of crazy stuff. And for that, I really like the TI. Honestly, I love the look of the KB. I think it's like the TI Polar and the KB of the B series, like I think are the coolest looking ones because this has like that nice wood grain. And I think you sort of almost have to see it in person, to really appreciate it. I think it looks really cool, and obviously so does this one. But if you have questions, let me know. I could follow up with another video if you're like, well, I really wanted to hear the difference between X, Y, and Z, or you did it all wrong, which is totally possible. So just let me know what you think, and I can maybe do another video while they're both sitting next to each other, which doesn't happen often or ever because this one's just sitting on a shelf, and it shouldn't be. So anyway, there it is. So I hope this was of some help to some of you. Take care.